Hello everyone and welcome to Garden Obsessions. I'm Angie.
And I'm Ambrose.
And today we are all smiles because we're going to be planting hydrangeas. And I think it's always just a wonderful day when the hydrangeas are involved. So it's fall and this is a time that, you know, we get to start to do our fall plantings, especially when you want to go ahead and start planting up your hydrangeas.
Yep, so fall is the perfect time to plant any kind of shrub, especially in the ground because you get that added protection. But we're doing ours in containers, so we're going to focus specifically on what we're doing here in fall to plant our shrubs in containers here.
Yes, so first let's go ahead. You want to go ahead and tell them?
Yep, so we have some
here?
pretty awesome hydrangeas that were sent to us by Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs, and we're excited because these are new this year. They're available in garden centers, but they sent some out to us so we can actually trial them in our garden here and see what they look like and how they perform this coming season. All right, so the hydrangea I am going to introduce here is a macrophylla hydrangea. Now this one is called Let's Dance Big Band, and this is a reblooming shrub. It's a big leaf hydrangea, and I'm pretty excited about this one. I wish that it came blooming because the one that Angie's going to introduce is actually blooming. But again, this is to trial in our garden, and hopefully next year we'll have some big, beautiful blooms to show you guys. But this is a hydrangea that does well in sun or part shade and is hardy in zones 5 through 9. So pretty good hydrangea, especially a macrophylla, to have in a zone as low as 5. It grows to about 2.5 feet tall and wide. So it's on the smaller side, which is great for hydrangeas that you want to put in a container, because you know that if you put it in a smaller container, it's not going to outgrow it within the first 1 to 2 years. And if it starts to get to its maximum size, then you can outpot it then, which will look very, very nice, and it's great to have in a container. It also blooms from early summer through fall. Again, we were hoping that it had some blooms, but next year we'll be able to see, and it's a reblooming hydrangea, so we'll be able to see that through summer all the way through fall next year. This is also a great hydrangea for those borders to have as a foundation planting, because it's such a small hydrangea, you can use it for a border alongside some other ones.
It has a really pretty shape to it.
Yes, very, very great shape. Again, these macrophylla hydrangeas, we have a couple already in the garden. We love the way they grow. Now, this one is the typical macrophylla hydrangea where it's going to bloom either that nice purple color or a big saturated pink.
Yeah.
Something that we were talking about it earlier, we haven't had a very saturated pink like this in the garden yet. So we're hoping that it's a pink. It's more on the pink side than it is on the purple side, because we absolutely love that pink, although I wouldn't mind having the purple in the garden as well.
I do love the color. It's a very pop of color.
Yeah,
that intense pop of color. That would be beautiful
I'll
back
pop
here.
this up there so you guys can see it as well.
Yes. Okay, so let's go ahead, and before we get to planting, let's go ahead and show you the other one.
Yes, I might get out of the way here because this one that Angie is showing off, it's a little bit bigger.
Girl or boy, I'm not sure.
I'm gonna let Angie have some room here. Go ahead.
So this one right here. Okay, so we got these through the mail, so they're a little rough, and I am very surprised that it was actually, I'll let y'all see it first. I am very surprised that the blooms came looking nice in the mail, because around this time of year, it's still hot, and the blooms just get destroyed through mail with the heat. Okay, so this one here is Let's Dance Can Do. Hydrangea. It's a serrata hydrangea, which that means is also called a mountain hydrangea. So I'm going to read what it says on the paper here, because I love the description of this one. So it says, Let's Dance Can Do, reblooming hydrangea will have you seeing stars far more reliable than other hydrangeas, with galaxies of pink or purple blooms that float above dark foliage. The first thing I noticed was a dark foliage. It's just beautiful. It's a dark purple with the green, and it's just stunning. And at first I thought that's, it's probably changing because of the time of year we're in fall, and it was just doing a change of color. No, that's the color of the leaves. So it's gorgeous. So why I'm so excited about this hydrangea? First of all, it's a very cold hardy hydrangea. It's hardy 4 through 9. But what I'm super excited about, because it's so hardy too, it produces the flower buds all through the stem. It is not the typical big leaf hydrangeas where you only see the buds forming on the top of the stems. This one actually will be forming buds all through the stems, running up from the bottom up. So that means that if anything gets damaged on top in winter time, you still have all these they will bloom. They will give you flower in early summer, and then at that, it's a rebloomer, but it's an earlier rebloomer, meaning that you will be seeing flowers rebloom. It would rebloom for you before fall time. So can-do hydrangea will be giving the beautiful pinks, like in strawberry colors of pink, as you can see here, and also the lavender purple color, but the pinks will be in natural soils and more of the lavender in your acidic soils. So something that I know that Ambrose was very excited. Let's see if we can both fit here before we get planting.
Yeah, I stepped out of the frame because I didn't want to. It's a big hydrangea, and I didn't want to take up the whole table here. But yes, I was excited about this hydrangea because we did more lace caps this year, and I was so surprised as to how many pollinators the lace caps attracted. So I'm pretty excited about having this one. And we had some of our lace caps do kind of a pink, and some of them did the blue purplish color. So
at the same time,
it's kind of interesting to see what kind of soil they actually come with. A lot of people think that, you know, we're going to change the colors right away, but it all depends on what soil they're actually grown in when you get them, and then you find out what color they're going to bloom, and then you could change that for the next year. It just really depends.
It's really fun.
It's really fun to see what they're going to bloom like. And like Angie said, the one thing that attracted me to this one is the foliage. I love that foliage from like the oak leaf hydrangeas come fall and winter. You get that red leathery color to the leaves. And this one already kind of has it. And
yeah, well, it has that deep, I'm calling it like a deep purple color, very, very pretty. And I just thought it was because of the time of weather, you know, the weather. But let's get planting. But I was very excited this year because I know you weren't so big about the whole lace cap. And then we started bringing them in this year. And
I was excited about it. I fell in love with them. And I'm excited to grow this one next year as well. So we're going to go ahead and get planting with these to talk a little bit about how we plant these in containers.
Okay, so while Ambrose put the soil in, we are going to talk a little bit about what we use when we do container gardening. That was one of the big questions that we've had lately.
Yep.
So what you just used right now is the potting soil from Espoma Organics.
Yeah, so one of the first things we always use when it comes to container gardening is the potting soil from Espoma Organic. It has the mycorrhizas in there. Same thing that comes in a biotone, but we always add some biotone as well. Real quick, before we continue going with this potting, have you seen some of our past videos? You'll notice that we use some bark mulch at the bottom, and that's to maintain some of that drainage for some of our bigger containers and bigger shrubs. Because this is a smaller container, we don't plan on keeping this hydrangea in here too long. I think, you know, we're looking to move pretty soon, so we're going to probably eventually move that to a bigger container or possibly
in the ground,
put it in the ground at our next location. So we're not going to use the mulch at the bottom, but that's one thing we do use. You can go back to the previous videos and see why we actually use that. Again, it's for the drainage. But so along with our potting soil from Espoma, we also use some biotone.
And as long as you have a good potting soil, Espoma Organic, the reason we love to use it a lot is because it keeps, the soil stays moist, but not to where hydrangeas love moist soil, but they don't love for the soil to be super wet and that stays soggy. So that soil is just perfect. That potting soil, Espoma soil, is just perfect. It doesn't dry out either. In summer when it gets so hot, it doesn't dry out so fast either. Yeah. So that's why we love it and why we use it. And then what I just put in there is the biotone.
Yep. So biotone, the great thing about biotone, especially during this time of the year, is and really for any time of the year, if you know what you're doing when you're repotting or transplanting plants, is the biotone's going to help that plant not go into shock and not completely be, you know, be like, what is going on? What are you doing to me? It's too hot, or in this case, it's fall. We're starting to cool off a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of soil in here.
Because it's fall too, you want to go ahead and start helping. You want to help those roots grow. Fall planting, it's all about the plant concentrating on putting on the growth of the roots, not this right here. What we're really trying to concentrate on is just getting the growth of the roots going before it starts to get cold and we get that, you know, the frost. Yeah. When it comes, when it's time for it, that gets too cold to do, you know, the plantings. Yeah,
so I didn't mean to abruptly interrupt by putting more soil in here, but that's exactly what the biotone does. It tremendously helps it over winter and fall. So that's pretty good right there. The roots weren't too bad, so I'm not even going to mess with them at all, especially with fall coming along. We're just going to let it grow out the way it needs to. The biotone will help with that. So we get a nice level area in the container. Normally we would go maybe a little bit taller, maybe a little bit lower, but because it's in a container, we can always put as much soil as we need to in here and leave a little bit of a lip because we're gonna add some mulch at the end of this as well.
So that scoop really comes in handy.
Oh yeah.
When we're doing these planting, especially with the hydrangeas.
Yeah, when you're trying to get around a tight corner, not a tight corner, but a tight planting with the smaller container, it definitely comes in handy.
And make sure the soil is going all the way down. As he's doing this, I like to always help out by just making sure that all the soil is spreading and going down the pot. And be super careful that you don't break any of the branches because you won't, you'll lose the flowers, which that brings us, as Ambrose is filling it up, I can talk about pruning these type of hydrangeas. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that with these type of hydrangeas because you'll end up losing a lot of the blooms. If for some reason there was damage during winter and you must prune the hydrangea, make sure to let spring come in and that you see all the growth, all the new growth coming up, and that's when you'll see the signs of what's really dead, and that's when you can just snip it off.
Correct. So again, like Angie said, even though they're rebloomers, it's best just to leave these guys, especially with the hydrangeas only going to grow about 2.5 feet tall. There's really no need to prune this guy at all.
Yeah, these are not the ones you want to be pruning. Okay.
Right. So last thing we're gonna do is, and I always say this, you guys heard it in our hydrangea talk chats, mulch. Mulch is a must, especially for hydrangeas. A top layer of mulch is gonna be very beneficial to hydrangeas because they get a lot of their water from the shallow roots that they have. So that's gonna be the most beneficial things for these hydrangeas because you wanna keep them well moist throughout the summer months especially. In fall, not so much, and I think Angie will talk a little bit about watering during fall as well.
Yes, in fall, for sure, you need to be watering. If it's not raining, like here, it's usually been raining every day, but if you're not in that type of climate where it's always raining, make sure that they get well watered.
Yes.
They need it because, again, it's all about, the focus right now in fall is their roots. They need to go ahead and establish those roots, get them nice and strong for next year to give this wonderful show.
Yep.
So I would say make sure you come out and you check the soil. I always do the little check with my finger, 2 inches to the knuckle maybe, to see if the soil is wet or dry. Sometimes they can get dry because it's windy. In around here in fall, it gets really windy. So we do have to come out and check the containers if they dried out. But you don't want to go let them dry, especially, you want to be watering them until their first frost. Yeah. First frost gets here, you stop watering if the soil ended up freezing. You just stop doing that. So let's go ahead and plant the other one, and we'll talk a little bit about what we do when winter comes.
Definitely.
With them in containers. Okay, so yes, definitely, before I get planting the other one, I do want to tell you, about the watering, that you definitely want to, for us, we are zone 7B.
Yes.
So if it doesn't rain, we do water daily here, the hydrangeas. But in other places, if it's a milder zone, your climate, it's not that hot. If it's not every day, you're watering them every other day, and just keep checking the soil. So yeah, this one's really pretty. I'm loving the blooms so much already. It's more of like a little, I don't know, I see more lavender in that, lavender pink in them. Yep. Beautiful foliage. And it actually has new ones down here, new flowers.
Yeah.
Hopefully they do bloom. And then there's some that are already more mature blooms.
Oh yeah.
Very pretty. Okay. Right, this is to me the most scariest part. So all the time.
I might have put a bit too much soil, but I think we can maneuver around that one.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'd rather just drop the pot so I don't break the hydrangea.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to break any of the branches, and there goes those flowers. So this one, I'm putting it in a bigger container because it does grow bigger. I don't think I set the size to this one. Do you have the paper?
I do not.
Let me see here.
I got it.
Go ahead and let them know this.
All right.
Sorry, guys.
So,
yeah, this one's a big one.
so the size of this one is
a little bigger.
3 to 4 feet tall and 3 feet wide. So it's going to be a little bit bigger than the microphylla hydrangea. Almost like the starlight that we planted earlier this year.
Like starlight.
Probably the same size and height.
So yeah, you want this one to have more room.
Yep.
Now, as we're filling it up, sorry if you can't see me here. It's really big.
Yeah.
The wintering over these type of hydrangeas. So this one here is really cold hardy. It's 4 through 9. The other one is, if I'm correct, 5 through 9. We're zone 7B. We don't have to worry about that. They're really cold hardy. We do not have to put them, somewhere like in the garage because they're in containers or pots. In our zone 7B, it doesn't get that cold.
Yes.
We actually have things in terracotta pots. Never had them crack. Everything overwinters beautifully out in the garden for us. Now, if you are in a colder zone, in a colder climate, I do, we always advise that you go ahead and cover the pots with burlap on the bottom, or anything that would keep, give them some protection. Also, the type of pots that you for sure don't want to go, in a zone 6, I would not have terracotta, or zone 5 or below. I would definitely have something that's frost. What do you call those? The
frost proof. So that's a question, like Angie said, we get all the time.
Yes.
As far as what do we do for winter to protect our planting containers, because a lot of our plantings are in containers. One thing I do keep in mind when we get some containers is to get frost proof containers.
We don't need them here, though.
It doesn't get as cold here, so we necessarily don't need them. But you want to look for those containers like this one, for instance. It's plastic, but it's got a double layer of plastic where there's some hollow.
Yes.
There's hollow areas inside because a solid foundation is going to definitely freeze up. It's going to get more solid and it's prone to cracking and completely be cold and frozen all the way around. But with that double layer of plastic, you're not going to have any of that freezing all the way through the container, so it's going to protect it a little bit more. And if you are in a cooler zone, you do want to put some burlap. You can put some extra mulch on top. Whatever you need to do to keep that plant a little bit warmer.
And for sure, the mulch. The mulch does protect too for winter time. It's not just, to hold in the moisture, but for winter time too. You're having trouble there with the soil?
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm making so much noise on my microphone because it's a plastic bag. It's like crumbling a bag of chips in a movie theater while somebody else is trying to enjoy something or talk.
Okay. So I'm excited for this one too.
Might as well just put the rest of the bag in there, huh?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. There we go.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that it came with the blooms, that the blooms were still looking good.
Yes.
Actually, they started opening more as we've had it here for a couple of days after they came in the mail. The reason we didn't do the video right away was because I went ahead and gave it enough water, and I noticed that the blooms were really small still, and they did start to open up more. So if they do open more, we'll go ahead and show it again before they're done.
More mulch?
Blooming. Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Okay, so one of the questions that we get too before we get going is, what about, can we take the blooms off once they're done blooming?
Yeah.
Or, sometimes we want to take them indoors, and how do you do that? Okay, so you don't lose any of the buds for next year.
Yeah.
So you look for, on the stem, where you have, sometimes the notes are already showing of where you're going to get more growth, and you want to go on top of there where there's 2 leaves on the stem, like right here, that are meeting right on each other. They're meeting right across from each other, and there's little notes on there. There's where you can cut it back over on the top. You don't want to go way too back. You'll just end up losing
some
the
growth.
flowers for next year, the growth for next year.
Yep.
So that is it. We just wanted to go ahead and show you these and give some, tips for hydrangeas or any shrubs for
Yeah.
containers. Great time to get planting for in fall right now. It's not as hot, you know.
Yeah.
The plants won't get that stress
Exactly.
as in summer.
It's like another spring for these plants, and that's why it's recommended to
Yeah.
do some more planting in fall. And like Angie said, with fall planting, always remember to continue watering until
Very important.
the first frost.
Very important. And one thing that I always like to tell everyone, fall is not to be, fall planting is not to be expecting to see all this
Yeah.
pretty going on. It's to concentrate, the focus
Yes.
is on the roots. So, you know, you might see, you know, the flowers just
Yeah.
end up going into shock sometimes and doesn't look pretty anymore. Don't worry
Yeah.
about that. Or the leaves start to fall
Yeah.
off. You did nothing wrong. It's the
Yep.
plant is just, you know, it's getting, it's concentrating on putting its growth on the roots.
Yeah. So I guess that's gonna do
That's it.
Yeah, so that's gonna do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Real quick and easy planting, showing you guys how to plant these containers during fall, and then showing off these beautiful hydrangeas that we just received. So we're pretty excited to have these growing next year. Luckily, these were blooming, so I love this color. It's a beautiful strawberry pink color that Angie described earlier, and I'm very excited about it. So
Oh, I am too.
Big Band, can't wait to see that one bloom hopefully in spring. It's got a lot of foliage right now.
That color.
And the color, I think the big saturated pink is gonna be beautiful. Or I don't know, we might get the purple. We don't know yet. But again, we'll see coming next spring and summer and see how that blooms and how beautiful it's gonna look. So is that it?
Yes, that's it. So the only thing to do now is just to water them, which we will be doing right after we're done with the video.
Yep.
And that's it, because if not, we'll just keep going. We can talk
Yeah,
about
definitely.
hydrangeas forever. So that's it, and thank you for watching, and happy fall.